Hi there and welcome to another Refactor Clinic episode. In this one we're going to look at how to update a dictionary based on attributes that come from the fields of a Python class. Now we're going to cover exactly what this means in a minute, so bear with me on that. But what we're going to do is we're going to define this dummy class called campaign, and as you can see this has 5 attributes, and we instantiate a campaign object down here with these values. These values they mean nothing, they're just dummy data essentially. So let's say that we wanted to grab some of the fields from this class, this campaign class, and we wanted to put them into a Python dictionary, and let's say it's an existing Python dictionary. This dictionary might well be served as an API response as JSON data. Now in order to do that you might write code like the following. Let's say you have this empty dictionary. You might define one by one each of the attributes that are coming from the class. Now the important thing to note here is that the dictionary keys, they have the same name as the fields on the class, i.e. the key for ID, it matches the attribute name ID, same for name, status, and so on. So basically we want to look at the class campaign and we want to update the dictionary based on attribute values on that class, and they have the same name as the keys we need. So we can do this one line at a time and you would get a final dictionary that is absolutely fine. But this is a lot of code. You can imagine that some classes in Python might have 20 fields. You don't want to be writing 20 lines of code, so as you go on beyond, let's say 4 or 5 of these lines of code, it becomes less maintainable, it becomes difficult to figure out what's going on, and there has to be a better way of doing things. So let's have a look at a better way. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to refactor this code here to be done on 3 lines of code. That'll be much more maintainable and much more concise. So let's see how to do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a tuple that has the fields of interest. Now you can see the fields are ID, name, status, customer ID and UID, and they're the same names on the class as we said before. So what I'm going to do is define a keys attribute, and this is going to be a tuple, and let me just copy these values. I've got them here. It'll be a tuple. So these are the keys that we're interested in, and what we want to do now is come up with our campaign dictionary. And it's going to be a dictionary comprehension. So we're going to say the key, which is going to be each of these, is going to be equal to the Getatter function, and we're going to get an attribute from the campaign class, the object rather, that we've instantiated, and we're going to get the attribute with the name of key, and we're going to do that for each key in the keys that we've defined up here. So that is actually all we need to do. If we print that out, you get the same result as you got before, and that's very useful because you can actually remove a value. All you need to do is remove it from the keys, and you would then get a dictionary back that didn't have that one that you've removed. So you're controlling what's returned from a single place, which is the keys, rather than having all these lines of code. Let's say you wanted to add a new one, you would have to check, maybe you'd have to check if it's already here, you would have to look through all of that. If you wanted to remove one, you would have to find that in there. Let's say you wanted to remove status, you would go in there and delete that. I think it's better and more maintainable to have this central construct where you define the keys in this case, and you call the Getatter function. Let me just quickly show you what Getatter does. We have this campaign object that we defined up here, and it has a name. I think these are in the wrong order, but it has a status of ready. So if I was to get an attribute from campaign and get the status attribute, and you just pass that as a string, that would return ready. So that's all it's doing. It's checking the object for a field with that, or an attribute with that name, and you get it back. So what we're doing up here is we're doing that exact thing in a dictionary comprehension for every one of these keys, and it's more maintainable because we don't need to write potentially 50 lines of code if we want to extract 50 attributes. We just define all the attributes in a keys object, and we can use that in the dictionary comprehension. This keys attribute, if you're familiar with Django, it's similar I would say it's similar to the fields property in the Django form meta class, or in a Django REST framework serializer meta class. If you have a Django model and you want to specify what fields on the model you want to return on your form or on your API, you can define these fields to point to particular attributes just like this, and that can be more maintainable. It allows you in one place to define what attributes you need to get from the model class, and this is quite similar. So that's all well and good. There is one addendum to this. If you need to get all of the class's fields as a dictionary, you could use the dict property on the class. Now, this is flexible. It's less flexible rather than explicitly defining what keys you need. So use it with caution, but you can see the effect of this right now. So we have an object called campaign, copy that. And all Python objects have this _dict property, which allows you to get back the dictionary representation, and we have all the fields from the campaign as a dictionary here. So if you need all the fields, you can always look at this _dict attribute. Otherwise, I think it's better to do something like this. And remember, don't use this if you don't need to. If you only have, like, let's say you only have 3 things to add to a dictionary, this code is perfectly fine. But in the case, imagine the case where you have, you know, all of that and they're all different fields, that would be rather unmaintainable. It's quite ugly. It's maybe better in that case to refactor your code to be something like this. Some of this might be opinionated, but I think this is a good step in refactoring, to use the dictionary comprehension in this case when your dictionary has the same, the keys have the same name as the attributes on the class. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something and enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. This Jupyter notebook is available in more detail on GitHub, and there's more detail on the blog post. Please check them out if you're interested, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you.